Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome everybody, and welcome Susan. Thank you for joining us here on this Thursday live talk, or TNT as I call it in a funny way. And I'm really excited today, folks, because I have a wonderful Susan today to chat to us about her Amazon experiences, her Amazon journey. And I've known Susan for a few years now, and I've always admired her entrepreneurial spirit and the way she thinks differently about how to create business, how to overcome challenges, and how she just doesn't give up. I love that. So, Susan, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'd like to start immediately, and as you know, I don't like to wait. I just want to know a little bit more about you, and I heard a little bit about your Amazon journey, but it's always really good to me to see more and be reminded of how did you start your Amazon journey? What happened to propel you into this amazing space?
Gosh, well, like many people, my Amazon journey started out of adversity. I was in a really great job and I got a bit bored with it, and I decided to swap over to another job. And unfortunately, I got made redundant very quickly from that job. They
Oh
had
God.
sort of major changes. This is in the corporate world.
Uh-huh.
So I found myself a bit on the scrap heap,
Uh-oh.
coming to the sort of later part of my career.
Yeah.
And I sort of tried to look for another corporate job, but I think the higher up the ladder you go, the harder it is just to walk straight into another job. So, the long and the short of it was that nothing was happening, and I was very conscious of the fact that I wasn't contributing to the household bills, etc. So I sort of revisited. Um, I'd sold on eBay for a while, a few years beforehand, and I'd looked at
Yeah.
Amazon at that
Yeah.
point in time as an option. Anyways, I went back and had another look, and I decided to give it a go, and very quickly made a decision that it was the right decision, that I was no way was I ever gonna go back to work for anybody else again.
Wow. Wow. I love that. I love that. Okay. So what kind of feeling did you get when you started working for yourself?
I always wanted to do it. I'm not a person that's afraid of taking that first leap. In actual fact, I'm probably quite a high risk taker. I think my husband is
Hmm.
the person that grounds me. I mean, if you look at my career, I've actually had quite a lot of jobs. Stability, yes, but
Yeah.
stability for me is quite often be maybe 3 or 4 years. Um,
Uh-huh.
the long and the short of it is I get bored really easily, and unfortunately, in the corporate world, it's very difficult to hop around doing lots of different things, and you quite often get pigeonholed into doing the same thing over and over again, which for
Uh-huh.
me was that's not really who I am. I
Mm.
really do
Mm-hmm.
like fresh challenges, and I like being given things that really stretch my imagination and my abilities.
Yeah. Yeah. And what is better than Amazon space?
Yes. Oh, absolutely that. It's what a massive learning curve, I tell you.
Yeah, yeah. I saw a funny, I think, picture a couple of weeks ago of how to make, I think, energy, out of stress, which is really great. And there was a picture saying this is an Amazon seller, and it was glowing. And and I mean, the stress means being alert and being challenged. And I think this space actually really brings a lot of that. So you really have to be on top of everything to be successful.
Yeah.
So when you started with your journey, was it on an arbitrage? How did you start actually? How did you decide on a model of Amazon? Because a
Okay.
lot of people ask me how to start, where to start, what to choose.
Well,
How did you choose?
Hmm. Well, it's fair to say that I had no idea that there were different models at the
Yeah.
point at which I started.
Yeah.
But I've always been a big believer that you have to you have to sort of follow what makes you interested, or the things that you
Mm.
feel passionate about. I think that, especially from a creative perspective, I'm not a person that can just work for the money. There has to be a little bit more to it than that. So for me, it was finding something that was really interesting. And
Mhm.
I've had two careers. Uh, 3 if you include Amazon, I suppose. But I
Yeah.
started my career in the hair and beauty industry, and I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it. And there's all sorts of reasons why I was, sort of moved on. But I decided to start my Amazon journey looking at specialising in hair and beauty. And I was very
Uh-huh.
fortunate because I've got quite a lot of qualifications still, keep my hand in. I was able to get really great contracts with a couple of major
Oh,
global manufacturers.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't know that I was doing anything maybe out of the ordinary, or as I've since learnt, I opted for the wholesale model of
Uh-huh.
that. Yeah, I was doing a little bit of OA because I'd
Hmm.
been introduced to that too by somebody, but the majority of my spend was in building my stock for wholesale.
That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And you know what? You did what you knew how to do best. You heard about a model, it corresponded to your strengths of what you knew already. So this is go and find whoever is manufacturing the product that you're interested in and know a lot about, and you know who's buying it, how often they're buying it. You actually knew the product really well and you loved it and you're passionate about it. And you just connected the dots without asking yourself, oh my goodness, whether I will do this or that. Do I need to follow that or this? You just followed your passion. I love this. And then
Thank
what happened?
Well, I just also could see that there was opportunity to add value to that, not specifically in the Amazon space.
Yeah.
I suppose I've always looked at my journey as the idea that I would end up omnichannel, in other words, going and providing something that expanded beyond Amazon and that allowed me to add value to that product purchase in lots of different ways. So,
Hmm.
so that I've always pursued that and keep coming back to it.
Yeah, yeah. And then what happened? So you started with this. How was it going? How long did that go for? And what happened next? I know
Um,
there was some big upheaval,
there
but I don't know what it
was.
is.
Uh, so actually, I chose an option that proved to be relatively easy to start off with. Um,
Uh-huh.
the products that I was aligning myself with were really great sellers on Amazon, and because they were trade only purchase, I had an element of exclusivity. So what I
Hmm.
was actually doing was just I wasn't putting all my eggs in one basket, but I certainly had quite a high percentage of my spend going to build my stock levels, which I'd started to do very successfully. Um, it was actually not very much work for me at that time because I had maybe 80 products that I could potentially sell, and then I just had to start to monitor how often they sold
Hmm.
and put an order in for what I could afford and gradually build it. And then lockdown came. Now,
Oh, okay, lovely.
yeah, that was a definitive moment in that experience because if you can
Mm.
imagine that I was selling hair and beauty products, the
Yeah,
whole of the world closed, or certainly in the UK, all the hair and beauty salons closed down.
of course, yes.
Rubbing my hands and putting a really big order in. Now, my contact was furloughed, so I had to deal with somebody at a senior level. The long and the short of it is that came a bit of a cropper after a series of jumping through a number of hoops. They decided to pull my discounts.
Oh gosh.
Subsequently, I think this might have been in the cards at the time, is subsequently Amazon now has an element of exclusivity for that product.
Can you
Therefore,
imagine?
yeah, I
Wow.
wouldn't have been able to sell it any beyond that anyway. So there ended that rather
Wow.
profitable and relatively straightforward journey.
Hmm.
So that then left me with a bit of a void that I had to fill, and I started um,
Hmm.
fervently to continue my journey with OA because that was the
Okay.
easiest
Right.
option at that point in time, was just to buy lots of things, a little bit of wholesale, a little bit of
Hmm.
OA.
Okay, but I can see like a huge, as you said, huge gap happening suddenly out of nowhere. And I suppose that you, being inventive and action taker, try to sort of patch it up and do everything possible to keep that income stream. And it just didn't happen. And you said that Amazon has just then come on the listings and they are holding exclusive rights. Can you imagine that? I will not say a thing, but I think everybody knows what's been going on there behind the curtains, right?
Very
Uh,
possibly. I mean, the products are still sold through
yeah.
a couple of major e-commerce suppliers that actually a lot of us do online arbitrage with. So,
Oops.
so the long
Okay.
and short of it was I ended up being able to buy those products cheaper from the people that supplier was delivering to than actually
Mhm.
buying it direct from them themselves. It was just one of those
Yeah.
unfortunate things. I was not in their vision, or
Mhm.
maybe I helped push it towards that because they could see that there was obviously a lot of money that they were missing out on
Mhm.
by not
Mhm.
selling more
Yeah.
of them. But anyways, you know what? You got to go forward. If you keep,
Exactly. Yeah.
it took a while to get past it. I'll be honest,
Mhm.
um, but get past it, I did, and
You did, yeah.
yeah.
So what was your next step? You said you sort of branched out into OA. You started doing that and finding lots of products. How? There's a next question that everybody's asking, especially somebody who's new or starting. How on earth did you find all these new products in OA?
Um, okay, so I also had already started looking at unique bundles, and I
Ah,
started to do that with some of the hair and beauty products, is actually bundling them together. So it wasn't
that's
entirely
smart.
OA, but what did I do? Um, well, I actually at that point in time got a VA.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Excellent. You see, there's one of the answers.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, because I recognised that if I was going to scale the business with something that I hadn't been buying, because the
Yeah.
scalability had come quite readily from the wholesale model that I'd adopted, and then suddenly I had to sort of start from scratch. So I
Yeah.
knew that I needed volume, and the only way that I could get that was by actually outsourcing the elements that would allow that to happen. So I got one VA to start off with, and then
Mhm.
I got a second, and then I sort of built from there.
Excellent. And they're both sourcing VAs?
Um, yes, in actual fact, one of
Mm.
them I only kept for a certain amount of time, but
Mm.
the other is still with me. So that's nearly 2 years now that I've had the same VA, and they do all sorts of things for me now. I've trained them over the period of time to do so much more than
Wow.
sourcing.
Isn't it a big difference, how people choosing them right and training them right and adding them to your team actually brings so much value? And you said in the beginning that you choose to do your work on things that you really enjoy. And I suppose that sourcing what you are skillful at, but it's not like your enjoyment point. Like for instance, Natalie, she loves she loves sourcing. She can spend whole day sourcing, and she just you can tell that she loves sourcing. Me, not really that much, not at all. I can do it nicely, but it's not my pleasure point. And for you, I suppose that sourcing you can do, but it's not something that you would love to do every day, all day long.
I really love sourcing for private label and for
Mm,
bundle options, I must
yeah.
admit. The bog standard OA, I get bored with it, I
Hmm.
have to say.
Yeah,
Although I put my fair share of time in on it, I sourced
yeah,
exclusively for the first several months. So I think I cut my eye teeth on it, but I think whatever you do, you've always got to have an understanding of what it is that you're expecting to pass on to somebody else.
exactly.
Even
Yeah.
if it's only a couple of weeks of giving it a go and realizing that maybe this isn't the bit that you want to work on in your business, that you want to
Hmm.
do something else, you still have
Hmm.
to have that knowledge, because how can you know if somebody's doing a good job at something if you haven't at least had a go at it?
Exactly.
So
Yeah, that was actually my next question. In regards to you building your team in any sector at any point, how do you know that you have chosen the right person? And how do you know if something is not going right, if it's maybe something that you're doing or something that they're doing? What would be your sort of experience on that?
okay, that's quite a long answer. I'll try. Well, because I've been a manager since I was 20, and it's fair to say that I was a seat of pants manager
Oh
for
yeah.
many years. But when I really and truly entered into the corporate world, I actually started to go through formal learning. So, so in terms of the how-tos, I think I've probably covered an awful lot of stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be any good.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm a firm believer that all employees should be supported through a competency-based stroke performance-based system. I'm a big believer in that. And what that actually means in literal translation is that you need to be quite clear about what it is you're expecting somebody to do in your business, and really be quite a granular, at quite a granular level, is to say, you know, do I want them to empty the bins? Do I want them to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and to give them outcomes to work towards? So
Yeah.
with sourcing, that's pretty straightforward. You know, you've got to have key criteria that you're actually going to be measuring them against. You have to share that with them. You have to try to find a good fit, and then you have to manage that, and then you have to review it and give them an opportunity to understand maybe ways in which they could do it more effectively, or if they're doing really well. You know, there's the carrot and the stick idea.
Yeah.
And you sort of build on that. But for some people, I think you can lead them to that. I actually think a lot of people give up very easily when it comes to that. They don't take into consideration cultural differences, possibly. They don't take into consideration that somebody might be younger, more inexperienced. And I think you've got to be patient. In other words, it doesn't happen overnight. You know, let me give you a really good example. I've been working with somebody who had a VA, and they were getting very frustrated that they were sort of expecting the VA to be proactively doing the work without actually having to tell them what to do. Like, this is the honest to God truth. So I'm sort of thinking about this, and I'm thinking, well, okay, you're expecting somebody to be able to do something without giving them any parameters whatsoever, and then you're getting annoyed with them because they're not doing what you think they should be doing, but you haven't told them what it is you think they should be doing. And I think culturally, especially if you have VAs that aren't UK based, I think there is quite a submissiveness for a lot of cultures, and they might be the smartest person in the room, but they're not necessarily going to do the things that we as Brits might expect them to do, which is to take that ownership. I don't think it's an automatic thing. I think you've got to sort of work at it. Does
No,
that
it's not.
sort of answer without?
Yeah, yes, it is, and I have the same experience as well. And I, had VAs over the years in different businesses, and I know it takes minimum 1 month to 2 months to people actually to loosen up and say, okay, I know this business. I can say to my client, maybe you should do this instead of that. So I had one VA for me for a few years now, and it took her about 6 months to start really saying freely and take ownership of what we should do in the business.
Yeah.
So it takes a while to build up the correct, or right person. Some people know immediately that they don't fit. Like 2 weeks is, what they really need. So yes, this is working, this is not working, next. So yeah.
Yeah, I sort of had that. So here's it again. I will give people a lot of a lot of rope, but I did have a VA for a relatively short time to try to help with listings, just standard listings, but to sort of test the waters with that to see if I could find somebody quite readily that would be able to do that. And in fairness, they just couldn't do it to the degree that I would like them to. I gave them an opportunity, and English wasn't their first language. And it was pretty substandard what they were doing. And I was very disappointed. And I knew that I could probably work at it for a very long time and they still wouldn't necessarily get any better. So, there's just some things that have to be right quite quickly.
Yeah.
That being one of them. The command of the language and the way that gets translated is not something that's a quick fix.
Yeah. I guess, how long does it take you to train people and know if they're right fit, approximately? Now, with all of your experiences combined.
Well, I think that you need at least 2 or 3 months, I would say, to really bed somebody into a job, even if it's a simple job. And then I actually think you need to give somebody a good 6 months to actually refine that process. And I think that's a fair assessment. Now, there may be exceptions to that. As I said, I took somebody on to be a copywriter for listings and they were rubbish. So, that was a decision that was very easily made. But if you can see potential that isn't quite there, then I think it's, but that the personality's there and the willingness and the understanding, then I think it's worth actually investing that time and effort.
Okay. I think I agree with that as well. Yeah. I'm going to ask you just a few more questions about this area, because I do get quite a lot of questions from especially new Amazon sellers and sort of beginners to intermediate. They just started, they're within that first 12 months of doing this business, and they wonder how do they buy all of these deals that VA is going to be getting. So there's, how would they do this? I mean, I understand, some people go for credit cards and stuff. Do you have, how did you do it yourself?
Ooh. Well, for me, it was rinse, repeat. I had a little bit of money, not an awful lot, left over from being made redundant quite quickly. They felt guilty, so they gave me an extra month's wages. So that was
Nice.
that was my investment, really. So I bought what I could afford from as many places as I could to invest in it once I felt I'd found the right place to be. And then I just kept selling it and then building it and selling it and building it and selling it. But when it comes to a VA, that's a really interesting one, because a lot of people take a VA on with unknown expectations about what they're actually going to get back. And it's one of the things that I also got caught on the hop with. I took a VA on full time and I was overloaded. I had so many options, and fortunately at that time my cash flow was pretty good, so I was buying a lot. But it was about making the time as well. It was finding the time to actually sit down and work through those options. So with hindsight, I think for me, under different circumstances, I think that it would be really useful to buy into a VA that maybe you don't have full time, but that you also have some expectations about how much you can afford to spend with them. So maybe a start point would be, find me the deals, but actually I'm not bothered about massive sellers. I'm quite happy if they only sell 10, 20 a month, and then buy small amounts, but buy across quite a wide selection. I think that would work much better than absolutely killing yourself to try to bring that money in.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. So I guess your experience in a managerial positions in a corporate world, and then building up your own team in your business here with the VAs, has led you into a new venture. What is there's sort of like a natural sort of flow of things. So what is that new venture?
Well, I have just officially come above the radar as a UK prep
Oh,
partnership.
lovely.
Okay, I made a decision quite early on that I would do my own prep. And in no small part, like many people, I suppose I thought it would be the most cost-effective thing to start off with. But I think it goes a little bit deeper with me, because I'm a little bit OCD. So, and I think that if you're going to have a certain working day, you can't be blue sky all the time and strategizing. You do actually need to switch off occasionally. And I found that prep was a good way of doing that. However, it grew very quickly, very fast. And then, this is actually where I started it all. This is a third bedroom that we converted into an office. It also was my yoga room. I should say there's not had any floor space in my yoga room for quite some time.
I
But
know that one very well.
the very nice sort of like decals and things on the wall.
Nice.
But I made the decision to expand, and therefore the space that I was in grew with me. Now, that was all well and good whilst we were in lockdown, but it's fair to say that it leveled out a little bit at the beginning of probably about midway through last year. We started to see a little bit of stability, probably what it had been before lockdown in terms of volumes and things. And I at that time had quite a lot of staff, and I sort of recognized that the particular unit I was in, I had a bit of capacity, and I started to consider that maybe it would be a really good idea to fill that capacity a little bit. Well, we sort of fast forward, um, and now I have an initiative which is rather unique, that I partner up with people like me
Mm-hmm.
who have warehouses for various reasons and that have a little bit of capacity to spare. And I manage that. It's almost like a franchise, but not a franchise. So we've got systems, processes, very much customer centric, very much about the customer. There's a few unique elements to that, and I manage all of that. And then various warehouses provide the delivery for the customer for prep services.
Wow, that is a very, very different way of doing the prep, I have to say. I have not heard of that before.
I do know there's a couple of people that have got more than one warehouse.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that we're in competition with, for me, it's about being able to facilitate the smaller seller and large. I mean, it's sort of everything, but a lot of prep centres go for the really big boys. What I'm saying is that we're quite happy to facilitate because each prep centre has its own targets for capacity, and therefore it's not about building and getting greedy and providing,
Oh, I like that.
we're trying to keep it so that we can provide a really good service level. And plus, the unique elements are that we offer a specialised bundle and hand curating prepping, as well as the things that you would expect a prep centre to do. And that's in no small part because I've been heavily involved in that for about 18 months now. And it's fair to say that my starter team are quite expert at it because I've put them some really, really challenging bundles together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Such as?
Well, I'll actually share this because it's not something that I'm going to do again because it was so much hard work.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it is a confectionery. I was really interested in candy boards.
Okay.
Look them up if you don't know what they are, but
Candy boards.
really big in America.
I'm writing it down.
And what they are is centerpieces to any event, party, and you make decorations out of sweets that are on some sort of a
Right. Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you can get them. They call them the savoury versions are called charcuterie boards, and they're really popular and they look so wonderful. You can have them with cheeses and meats and things. But I did
Yummy.
one for Halloween.
Ooh.
And it was a test, and it had all sorts of horrible sweets on it. It had like gel eyeballs and
Ew.
skull heads and giant spiders and all things like that. And I created an arrangement with them, and I created a how-to. So it's almost like painting by numbers.
All
Um,
right.
I told you I don't think like everybody else about things. I got really weird ideas, and it was actually very successful, but it was damned hard work putting it together because I did it as a gift set and bought bulk sweets. So we had to decant all the sweets into smaller bags, and we had 17 components, and then we packed them all beautifully and put them in and put tissue paper on. And they were, the outer part of it was branded and everything like that. So that was probably the most complicated thing you could ever ask anybody to do. I mean, we're perfectly used to doing bows and labeling and beautifully wrapping tissue paper and things like that. But this was just hard work. And much as I loved it and I loved the concept of it, and I might come back to that at some point in time. And if anybody wants to steal it, you're more than welcome, as long as you let me for you, because we've got that element of expertise now.
Oh my goodness, 17. Jesus Christ. Hi, Ahmed. No, sorry, I didn't see you. Ahmed is saying hello. Oh my goodness. 17. I'm having this number in my head. 17. Oh my goodness. That must have been a very special bundle. And I really look, of course.
It's very popular. I mean, I sold out way before Halloween, but that, I just, it was a test really, and it was work.
Yeah. So I quite liked that you're keeping this a prep center concept, almost like a boutique.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
So pay attention to, smaller Amazon sellers. So, I really like that, sort of similar to my concept. So you can pay attention to everybody, give personalized services. which are well organized. And what I love about you, Susan, is that you are so well organized. Everything runs with
Try to
you
be. Try
like
to
a
be.
clock, like a clock. I don't know how you do it.
Oh, well, um, I don't I don't think I'm as organized as I'd like to be. I think that there is a natural element of it, and there's
Yeah.
also a chaos element. Being a creative person, it'd be very easy to fall off the wagon and be really disorganized. Um,
Hmm.
uh, so I think I've always had to work really hard at it. But if you go back all the years ago when I started my career in the hair and beauty industry,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have stood the test of time if I wasn't organized, because I had to fit in maybe 14 clients a day for
Mm-hmm.
various things, and they weren't all like one after the other. I might at any point in time have 4 or 5 of them on the go,
Yeah.
and you do get quite
Mm.
organized very quickly in order to be able to manage that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to cope. You drown.
Yeah. But well, it's true. And talking about all of this, I mean, you have, seems to me, so many things on the go. How do you call this? So many bowls,
Juggling plates.
juggling plates and stuff.
Well, I think I had more. I'll be really honest with you, Anna, that this is actually something that I'm really excited about. So I'm focusing a lot of energy on getting it all absolutely up and running. We've
Hmm.
been I've got a small team that are helping here and there,
Yeah.
getting the website organized, starting Facebook, developing content. These are all things that I really love to do, so it's no big deal.
Oh, it's
And actually
beautiful.
refining our systems and processes so that we can more and more make it really easy for people to use us and actually
Mm-hmm.
engage with customers
Mm-hmm.
and things. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's actually my focus at the moment. I think if
Yeah.
anything, my Amazon business is taking a bit of a back seat while this all gets up and running. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to be going back to it. You never leave it for very long, do you?
That's true. It's true. We need to produce that energy.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you know, and I know you told me that you're working on systemizing your business, and that's what many people find to be, especially in Amazon space, I believe, sort of they don't have time for that, and it's more of a usually like, how do I call it, like pasta in the wall strategy. You just keep on doing it. You don't have time to have a vision of where you're going. So people get stuck there.
Yeah, I think it depends on what your background is, because it's fair to
Mm,
say that I used to be very much an activist. Certainly when I was in the hair and beauty industry, I used to
mm,
just crack on with it, and then it was maybe a little bit after the event, I'd be like, "Oh, maybe I could have taken
mm,
some time to think about that." So I think, and then going into the corporate world, you have no choice but to be like that in a way. So I think that
mhm,
my approach to business changed dramatically over the years.
mhm,
All I can say is that you need to make the time to plan your business. I think it's the most important thing you can do. If you're busy firefighting all the time, you never get past it. And one of the really good things about systems, and we already have systems in place. I'm because I put them in place when I started my prepping 2 years, 3 years ago.
mhm.
It was just a case of scaling it then. So the system was there, and then it was about practicing that. But you don't know you need them until you need them.
Yeah.
That sounds like, strange thing to say, but systems are absolutely brilliant. And if you get into the routine of them so that you get used to doing them on a regular basis and doing things in a certain way to a certain routine, when
Mm,
it starts to get absolutely banzai, they're there for you.
yeah.
And there you don't drop anything, and you don't actually, it's much less stressful than the headless chicken
Mm,
firefighting that
yeah.
most people do. So it's a bit of a false economy to think that you don't have time to do something, because if you make the time, even, you know, I had a system when there was only me.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
I'm saying is I didn't have anybody else to tell my system to. Susan, it was like, Susan, you've got to do it like this. Because that's who I am. I like to try different ways of doing things and then find the most effective way of doing it, or the easiest way. But then when I brought on my very first prep assistant, there were the systems all ready and waiting. Look, I've
Mhm.
tried it all these different ways. We're going to start by doing it like this. So we didn't go, ooh, got somebody new coming on, I don't know what to do with them because I haven't bothered to try to find out, or I haven't been able to make the time, or
Yeah.
does
Just out
that
of
make
interest, what kind of system is best for you? Is it like a picture system, or is it words? What works best for you?
It's a combination, to be perfectly honest. So I'm very creative. So I get the vision.
Mm.
So that happens in my head for quite some time.
Yeah.
And then it reaches the point where it makes my head explode, and I've got to get
I got the
it
sound.
out.
Yes.
Okay, so people
Yeah.
that are like me will completely understand what I'm on about. You know, it doesn't matter what time of the day or night it is. If
Yeah.
I've been mulling over doing something, I've got to get up and I've got to then
Yeah.
I consign it to paper,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
or I give myself a message of some description, and then phew. So
Yeah.
usually I do quite a
Mm-hmm.
lot of mind mapping. That's the way I'm
Beautiful. Yeah.
conceptual 3D, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'll pick a bit and I'll work on it, and that is usually on the computer,
Yeah.
and I'll usually use um, various tools and things to get where I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
lots of people, I'll use technology a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. See, some people like me put everything neatly and nicely, talking about my maps like that. And then I totally forgot that I've done it. And then I'm like, okay, I know there's something missing in my systems and processes. Then I dig it out somewhere in the document. So I'm like, oh, I forgot that, and I already have it. Oh my goodness, it's so amazing. So I'm a little bit like that, disorganized, but you're not like me. You are amazing,
Well,
absolutely
thank
amazing.
you. But I think I've been very fortunate. One of the things that's done me in enormously good stead, which is actually really, I mean, it's probably my experience of it is older than a lot of people that might be watching this at some point in time. But when I was in the hair and beauty industry, I got a really fantastic opportunity to help reshape the qualifications in the UK. So that was
Oh, really?
my last job actually as you know, in the hair and beauty industry, and I worked very closely with a number of awarding bodies to create the NVQ structure as it became. It was originally City and Guilds, and then
Wow.
and all of that was competence based.
Yeah.
And what you had to do was you had to make it so that it was like how to boil an egg type thing. You had
Mm-hmm.
to actually learn how to break things down to
Yeah.
be able to train somebody and to understand when somebody had achieved something. So
Yeah.
I went through this months and months
Mm-hmm.
of learning about how to think like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I can't now unthink it. That's actually the way I approach most things.
Wow.
So it's almost like a time and motion study. If I'm going to do something, I sort of try to work through a logical thing about how do I boil that egg,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And I really think that so probably a lot of detail that then starts to get condensed down into something
Yeah.
really much simpler.
Yeah. Wow. That is really valuable. And obviously that's going to benefit you in your business massively. Massively. That's what a lot of people do not have. And I know that they struggle quite a bit. Wow. So
But oh,
yes.
sorry, go on, Anna.
No,
What
I
I was
just
going
want
to say is that,
please.
you know, I because I am older and I've had quite a lot of experience, some of that experience is in things that I don't think I'm that good at.
Mm,
Like everybody, there's some things that I do really well and some things I don't do so well. And that's all the sort of the sum of your life's experience, isn't it? But
yeah.
you know what? There's always somebody that will know the bit that you don't know. So it might be that you, as long as you can recognize that you're not familiar with this, you can do something about it, can't you?
Mm,
You know, Amazon's a really good example of that. Um, Most people are really fortunate if they get a mentor at an
mm,
early stage, and that
yeah.
mentor starts to help them. Most of us learn Amazon the hard way,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually starting from scratch and just learning and practicing and learning and reading up and watching videos, maybe doing a training course. Well, you know, that is therefore available for
Mm,
everything. It's not just Amazon. And
mm-hmm.
I think that boils down to the individual. I see that some people just want it handed on a plate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they want to they want to know it straight away without having to have actually put any effort in. So
Mm-hmm.
if that is that type of person, they're never going to really get past that point, are they?
Mm. Some get lucky, but most of
Yeah.
them don't. And they don't know why is business going wrong. They don't understand it. And that is because they do not have experience they don't have the grit. They did not work in it and learned it the hard way, like most of us, actually.
Yeah. Working on the coal face, not to be underestimated.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. So in regards to your prep, how do you admit people? Is there like a waiting list? How do you do this? Because it's very boutique. So I'm like interested in that.
So we're always, one of the really good things about it is that we've always got opportunities, because we build and then we bring on new partners, and we build and we bring on new partners, and I'm just going above the radar. I'll be really honest. Most of our customers have come to us through referrals. So this is the first time I've actually spoken actively about the fact that I do this.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So clearly there's an opportunity for people to have discovery calls with me. And I'm just launching the website right now. And I have a Facebook page. And realistically, I'm easy to find, and we as a team would be only too happy to find out if it's something that we could help people with.
Excellent.
And just something that I wanted to pick up on, if that's okay, Anna, is when you and I had our little pre-meet about this, you were asking me about saying that maybe a lot of people ask, when is the right time to outsource your prep?
Yes.
And actually, thank you very much for that, because you really did give me the inspiration for a series of blogs that I've put.
Oh, really? Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I mean, I already started to think about it, but because you specifically asked, I thought, that's a really good start point. When is it right to do that? And I actually thought about it, and I thought, well, it's going to be different for different people, but what I could do is actually create a scenario that people can relate to, and give people the considerations about what sort of decisions they can make around it. So if people did want to visit the website, I've got the very first blog on there, which is about when is it really enough, and that was all about the actual physical presence of doing your own prep. And as I say, I started in here, and people look at the blog, they'll see the color scheme and everything like that, and then it got worse, and this is something that everybody that goes into the Amazon journey will relate to. It might hit people at different times, but it's so invasive, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's how much you're prepared to accept that within your house. But just to touch upon it, because I think it's actually a really, really important thing. I think you need to manage your headspace, because Amazon is not an easy master. There are going to be times on the journey where you feel like pulling your hair out, especially if you have to deal with Seller Central Direct. And I think if you have the prep in your own in your own home environment, to be perfectly honest, you can never get away from it. And fair enough, as an entrepreneur, you very rarely, there's always something going on in your head, and you maybe sort of think about your business 24/7, but having the actual physical elements of it sitting around your house means that you genuinely can't turn off. And I actually think that that's quite stressful. And I mean, I'm at the moment, I've been working in my home office because we've just moved one of the warehouses. And I've got a new office to go to, and I can't wait, because then I've got home and I've got work.
Yeah.
And it's actually a very difficult balance to strike when you do your own prep, because no matter how hard you try, it overspills into the whole house.
It's true. Becomes part of your life continuously, and not in a relaxing way either.
No, I know. You're surrounded by boxes.
Yeah, boxes, bows, tapes,
everything. And the thing that always used to bother me, and some people might relate to this, is that if I knew that somebody was going to be coming and collecting things, I used to be worried about going to the toilet.
I know. Are they going to buzz? Is it them coming?
The loo, and then there'll be a knock on the door or something.
Or if I'm drying my hair, I won't hear somebody. Oh my God.
Especially Amazon, because they can come all hours of the day. They can come in the evening as well, But anyway, sorry, I know I digress slightly, but
that's life, right?
Well, it's real life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some people are living it out there, so enough is enough when you say it is, really.
So I would just, for the end, I'm really interested actually, because it seems to me that, and I know that you do a lot. How do you manage your energy? How do you manage? Is there any truth to achieving a sort of work-life balance at all?
You mean apart from the drugs, Anna?
Yeah, apart from that, is
Joking.
there any
Um,
other way?
um, I am naturally quite an extrovert person. By that I mean I don't really ever feel tired. I've got oodles of energy.
Wow.
But I have always believed that there is a balance.
Mm.
And I think it's actually really easy for somebody like me to get stressed very easily because I'm always
Uh-huh.
at that sort of pitch. I never relax very easily.
Mm.
I've always got something
Yeah.
going on in my head.
Yeah.
So I made a decision, and this was actually the prep center was part of that decision, although it might not seem like it.
Mm.
Probably about a year ago now, I made a decision to try to get back some time for me.
Nice.
And at that point in time, I was doing everything. I was doing so much, and one of the things that I started to do is I stopped doing the things I always did in my corporate life because I always went to the gym in the morning before I went to work,
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
used to sort of do quite a lot of exercise and things, and that completely went. Lockdown didn't help,
Of course. Yeah.
but I felt guilty about the idea of stopping working and going doing stuff, and I
Mhm.
made a decision. No, my weight had started to escalate after
Mhm.
lockdown. This is a sense of deja vu for some people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
thought, no, I've got to do something about it. I've got to
Mhm.
rest it back. So
Mhm.
I do about 2 hours a day,
Wow, that's brilliant. Yeah.
and it's hard won sometimes,
Mm.
and I actually have to try to work around the fact that once I'm involved in something, I find it very difficult to switch off. So I sort of have like a siesta period now. Anybody that
Yeah.
knows me will know that I'm sometimes not available between about 12 midday till about 2. And that's when I actually take the time out and I walk and
Susan's
I swim.
Fiesta. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
totally understand. Yeah.
then I work really long hours around it. I might sit in the evening and do something until about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. But
Mm.
it's almost like I've given myself permission to try to strike that balance now, and one thing benefits the other.
Mhm.
Sleep as well,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, getting the right amount of quality sleep,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is there's the pillars of health, aren't there? Exercise, sleep,
Yeah.
diet, uh,
Yeah.
something else that escapes me. Well, managing stress. Yeah, those are the 4 things that you really need
Exactly.
to mind.
Yeah. I've been to this business mastery and some other masteries with Tony Robbins. When he asked this question, where do we get our energy from? And everybody says, oh, it's the food, oh, it's the sleep. And he says, well, we have people who have not had food, no sleep, and there's running around, jumping around, full of energy. Where did they get their energy from? And what you
Motivate.
said, when you said earlier, I do what I enjoy. That's when we get
Yes.
our energy from, our passion. So you keep things that you love doing, what's magnetizing you. I was speaking to Luke the other day, and he says, I just do what is a magnet for me. And there's lots of energy coming out of that, lots of creativity. And that's when you can do, I don't know how many hours work. It doesn't matter how many hours, it's the result and enjoyment.
Yeah, but you know what, Anna? It's a bit late after you're gone, isn't it, as well? It's in a dress rehearsal. So there's so many things
Exactly.
still yet to do. I mean, I won't be able to do all of them in my lifetime, but by Christ, that I'll be going out kicking and screaming and still practicing playing the piano or something.
I can recommend some books that can
Thank
help
you.
you with that. I'm reading one right now, and I'm so impressed with that one. Wow. Okay, if anybody wants to know, I'll tell you.
Thank
It's a
you.
big secret. It has got like 700 pages.
I'm
Try
all right
that.
with books.
Try that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Susan, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap this up. Is there anything that you would like to say?
Well, I'd like to say that again, thank you very much for having me. And I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to perhaps share with you my new venture. If it's okay with you, I'd really love to give everybody a link to the website so that, if people are interested in finding out a little bit more, then I would love to hear from them. But also, just to say all the best for you for your endeavours as well.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, you go from strength to strength. It's wonderful. Girl power.
Girl power. I love that. as we call it, like Venus rising. I just love that. It's beautiful. Venus rising.
Okay.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. My pleasure. And I was about to ask you if you can post, your link just below when this stream ends. That would be great, because I'm curious reading your blog about,
Okay.
when to outsource. I can give it to all of my clients who are wondering.
Now, I will warn you, and it really is, and the actual desktop version, I'm very happy with. The mobile phone version I'm still working on, and it should be absolutely spot on in the next couple of days. But at the moment, that is not, it's a sadder reflection of the actual site itself. But the desktop version, spot on.
Okay. Everybody read the desktop version until Monday. That's it.
Yeah. Perfect.
Excellent, Susan. Thank you so much. It was absolute pleasure. I love talking to you and
Thank
learning
you.
from you and being inspired by you. Mwah.
Thank you very
so
much. Back at you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.